Agents are very selfish sometimes they are focused on their commission only, which that is your livelihood. That is how you make money. I completely understand that and I respect that. However, if your goal at the end of this is I'm only going to do this for 3%, 6%, whatever it is, and I won't touch it if I don't, you shouldn't be working with that specific client because you're doing them a disservice.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. I have one of the top agents, like the one I have before us, who has a diverse background in real estate. This is more than just buying a single-family primary residence. She's an extensive marketing background before entering the real estate profession. Her real estate career led to her to be a senior acquisition agent with a top real estate investment firm here in Jacksonville, Florida. This has given her experience of buying property, flipping property, holding property, renting property. Let's welcome the pilot, the captain, the owner of the flight group with Keller Williams Atlantic Partners, Jannah Jordan, to the show.
I like that. That was my best entry so far.
I'm
going to bring you around.
I wrote that yesterday, actually. Okay. And I actually caught myself. I should have reread the first two sentences there, but I just kind of screwed up. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to a great conversation because, as we were just talking pre-show, agents that are coming onto your team, we think the average agent is primarily just focused on that prime, single family home. I mean, there's agents out there when they get someone who wants to look at a condo start to get nervous, let alone have someone call them and say, hey, I'm looking to invest. I want to buy rental property. I want to buy an Airbnb, or, even someone who wants to invest and they want to flip, and your experiences there and how that process works. Because I think everyone would love to invest in real estate.
Yep.
Everyone would love to flip homes, as I see on HGTV. They think this is great, glamorous life, but you got to get with someone who's experienced, unless you want to blow a lot of money up front.
There's very little glamour in the investor industry, I will say.
Right.
I will say. You can get there,
Ice Baby, he has his show.
Oh yeah, Vanilla Ice. He's buying and flipping houses in St. Augustine.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like I remember someone saying that not too long ago.
Yep.
But obviously some of the stuff he's done, he looks for some of these larger homes. Obviously he's got the investors, his own money, and he's got a show. And he wants to put the glam on it, right? Yeah. I mean, that's his style, which creates his show.
Ice on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Jannah, as I kick off every show, where are you from?
I'm actually born in Jacksonville, Florida. Could you believe it? Baptist downtown. Mm-hmm. I tell my
Where'd you go to high school?
We moved to Tampa when I was about 3 or 4.
Okay.
So I grew up in Tampa, and then, so I went to a school called Berkeley Prep in Tampa, and then came up here for college to go to UNF. So at this point, my dad always tells me, you have lived in Jacksonville longer than you ever lived in Tampa. So this is my home.
When you went to UNF, 18, 19, 20 years old, what was your vision for a career?
To be honest, ever since I used to say it in high school too, that I wanted to be in real estate. I didn't really know what that meant. I just knew that I had a couple friends whose families were in real estate. I liked their lifestyle. I liked what they did. We talked about it. It was something that was familiar to me. I always liked it. I was intrigued by it. But that being said, I kind of went to college because I was told I had to go to college.
Okay.
And so I did. I did it unwillingly and kind of dragged my feet through it. And then at the end of it, going to my dad was always the person who would tell, I went to him for advice, and he was very adamant. He's very old school. I did insurance sales during college. I always had a bunch of different jobs. So I always had like 2 or 3 jobs at a time while I was working my way through college. I always worked in a restaurant. I worked for an insurance company. I worked for an asset management company. Worked for a marketing firm. So I kind of always had all those different backgrounds. And I had sales experience too. And the first people who call you when you graduate college are who? People who
credit card companies?
Well, credit card companies. But it's always a commission-based job.
Right.
So it's the life insurance salesman. It's the recruiters for realtors. It's just commission-based because they know they can get these young kids excited about what your potential income could be. Do you want to sit in a cube where you're going to make, at the time, minimum, people were making $35,000 a year, and 45 would be great. And as starting out, and you're going to sit in a cube until you move to your next cube, and you're going to work 9 to 5, and you're going to have benefits. What a great dream that is!
Right.
To my father, that was a great dream. You have benefits. I don't have to pay for you anymore. You got a steady salary. You're just steady, right? And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that. Even recruiting companies call you too, because you can work your way up there too, make commissions, stuff like that. So that was kind of. I wanted to be in that commission job, but my dad steered me elsewhere. So that's kind of where I went to that.
Well, that's interesting. So your dad was, get the solid job, get the payroll, W-2. But where did you get the sense of, obviously the commission base could take you further? I mean, what was there, just seeing other families and the real estate agents and understanding how they were making their money?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I never really had a full understanding of it, or how do you make money, or how does that work for you? But I knew just my personality too. I'm not somebody who's going to sit in one position, or this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to get promoted to manager, and then I'm going to get promoted to this. It's just not. Right. I was somebody who always kind of, like I said, had a bunch of different jobs, and if an opportunity arose, I took it. So my friends always joke with me, I swear you always are doing something completely different. One time I met a friend who, I was looking for a rental when I'm in college, and it was a Craigslist ad, and it was a realtor who came and showed me the property on the beach, and she said she was just doing the rentals for a property management company, and I was talking to her, and we became friends, and she was like, I've been looking, she was just telling me I've been looking for somebody to watch my daughter, and I was like, I'll watch your daughter. And she was like, oh yeah, and I do this on the side for a real estate company and a friend of mine, but I also sell insurance, and we're looking for somebody too for kind of administrative role, but would work into sales. And I was like, well, I could do that.
Well, it's funny you bringing this up, because I got contacted last night by one of my alumni brothers, just totally out of the blue, texted me, and he's got this young lady that he's trying to help get started, type of thing, and he was, me knowing I'm in the real estate business, knows that I have the podcast, and I talk to a lot of the agents about how she could enter, and I said, well, we'd want to try to find an agent who maybe needs somebody to do some the assistant type of stuff, because I don't he's going to get more of what her skill level is, so I can hopefully someone will talk to her. Yeah. But I'm seeing a lot of these you have a lot of young people on your team that it's kind of amazing. I mean, looking back, I wish I was mentored at 22, 23 years old to get into real estate, and how it's changed their career. And those opportunities are there if you can meet up with the right person who is willing to maybe pay some sort of minimum wage as they mentor up and then grow within the team or within the company.
Well, I think a lot of people are scared. I think the biggest thing is fear, right? The unknown. If the only people who are going to be successful in that type of environment are people who aren't afraid to take a risk, aren't afraid to spend some money to make some money, or do something for free, do something for nothing to make, what is that going to end up? Where is that going to propel you? Right. I mean, that's a huge, huge opportunity. And a lot of people don't see that. Anyone who joins our team, and the first thing they look at and the question they ask is, what are the splits? I say, we're not a good fit for you. Right. Because we're not. You know, that's not what we're about. I mean, what we provide, and to like to your point, to be mentored and to know our knowledge of the industry, your first year, in real estate would be tremendous, especially at that younger age too. Everybody asks me what's your biggest regret if you had a regret, in business, right? Would you wish you would have done something different? I always say, my regret is that I didn't do this sooner. Right. Because if I knew what I knew now when I was 20 years old, I'd have a totally different life. Right. Not that my life is great. I'm just saying, my husband and I were talking the other day, and he was like, we're almost 40 years old. And I'm like, yeah, who cares? Look at all these. Nothing you could change there. Nothing you can do. And he was he was thinking about things. He was like, it kind of took us a while to kind of figure it out, And I was like, if we were in our 20s, what in the world? We could have been to the moon by now,
Right,
you know?
right.
And that's at this stage in my life, I don't really want to go to the moon. I'm very happy where I am. But to be that young and to have that much knowledge, and it would be tremendous.
Well, I mean, looking back, and I mean, obviously, like I said, you have some young people on your team, sub 25 years old. I mean, if you're going to get into the real estate business and not, or any 100% commission, it might be now, because the only person you got to feed is yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can survive off ramen noodles for a little while, you might actually go somewhere.
That's the other thing too. I mean, when I started real estate, my husband was in Japan. He was working 6-8 weeks on a ship. I was in Jacksonville with a 6-month-old baby. I didn't have any family here. I didn't have any friends who had kids yet. I wasn't even working. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I kind of quit everything. I was like, I gotta just, what do you do? Like, I never had a kid before. I was like, I'm figuring this out. I'm figuring it out by myself.
He's not in town, so, there's no double coverage. Yeah,
I mean, that was hard. And I finally, was like, I don't care what I'm going to do. I'll figure it out. You always figure it out. And that's what people don't understand, is there's always, where there's a will, there's a way, you know, I mean, you figure it out.
To go off your figure it out, I mean, you've the different things you follow in your, just looking at your LinkedIn and not knowing the details in between. Hopefully you can give me the, what's in between the slices of bread here, is you got involved and ran into people, met people, and one thing led to another in your career so far.
So far, I'm very much always been that person who very easily makes relationships, makes friends, talks to somebody. That sounds interesting. Well, can I find out more about it? Tell me more about it. And so then I learn about it, you know? And I think a lot of people, it's very hard to ask those questions too. I think it's very hard for people to talk about money. I mean, I'll be the first person who was like, what do people make a job like that? You know, well, what? Like, in the real estate industry, you become comfortable talking about people's finances, people's lives, people's livelihood. How did they do that? When did it do it? How long did it take you to get there? You know, and I think it's very beneficial when you're starting out to be able to just jump, right? Like, I want to learn more about that. I want to learn more about that. How do I get into that? And then once I've reached a certain point, it was like, okay, now I got to set some goals, which I've established. Hey, real estate's me. I'm not going anywhere else. I always had a plan B, right? Like, oh, well, if this happens, I'll just do this. No big deal. I'm very free-spirited in that way. However, once you get to a point, you got to say, you got to screw your plan. Now
it's time to screw down and start making some.
That's what my husband always says. When he quit being a merchant marine. He was a merchant marine for 10 years. He devoted his life to getting there. And, you know, when he came home after I was 2 years of having a kid at home, he just one day said, I'm not leaving again. And a lot of people, after they would get those opportunities, you literally spent 15 years of your life getting these licenses and working your ass off to be the chief mate of your ship or whatever it is, captain. And to say, I'm just going to figure out something else completely. I'm not even going to keep my licenses. He always says, burn the ships. Don't have a plan B. And that's ever since then, I've said, burn the ships. Because if you don't have a plan B or a fallback plan, and failure is not an option. So if failure is not an option, you have to succeed.
I'm trying to remember who I don't know if I saw it in a reel somewhere. Don't have that easy plan B where it's like really you're after plan B and not even really after plan A. Plan A is a dream and you're not really because you're always like, well, I'll just go over here and do this. I think people do need to have the confidence though if they have any sort of talents that like I said, they can burn the ships. There is something else to do. Yeah. I'm sure your husband, he realized the skills he learned in the merchant marine. I mean, we live in a seaport here. There's many things he can do here locally without.
Full story on that is he started a contracting company and he's a general contractor now.
Yeah. So now he's hammering nails versus, exactly. You spent some good time in doing different marketing positions based on your LinkedIn. What are some things that you picked up there that you've brought over and kind of, not necessarily took it directly from here to there, but just taking that experience, because I think it's, a lot of agents had previous careers and some of them really good corporate America, really stringent, suit and tie type of, atmosphere, IBM type careers, and then they jump into real estate, and it's because of that structure they went well. What did you take from the marketing and the different things that you were doing there to what you're doing now?
So with me for marketing, I was always positioned in, I guess it was kind of all-encompassing. So it would be, for instance, I did marketing for a law firm, right? So the law firm specifically would have, so let's say they had 60 different agents, or 60 different lawyers, attorneys, and they did 15 different practices. Well, I, as a marketing person, you have to figure out for each one of those different practices, what's the best type of marketing for them, right? So I'd have to find out who's their target audience, who are the businesses they're trying to go after. Okay, well, you have that target audience and the business they're trying to go after, so how do you get their attention, right? So it's more based off of really learning people and knowing who your audiences are. So for instance, to translate that to real estate, you're selling, $300,000 house in a suburb towards the beach. Knowing who you're selling that product to is very important when you are trying to sell it, really.
Right.
Because you know who to market to, how to market to them, and how you're going to get the best results. So also the other side of it is learning your seller. Right? What type of person are they? What do they need from you? And the same thing if you were representing an attorney. Okay, well, they work a certain way, right? I'm marketing for an individual. I'm also marketing for a firm. So they have to fit within these buckets.
Right.
Right? So do they fit within my business plan? Do I fit within their business plan? And just generally, how do we make that work together? So I think that was my biggest kind of
so let's drill it down a little bit, and what you're teaching your younger agents there to go out on a listing appointment and how to get across to that seller. This is how I'm going to market your home.
Yep.
How do you approach that?
So it's going to be different by every single home and every single person, right? So I think the biggest thing is establishing that relationship with the individual. Once this is just sales in general, is your goal is to make these people like you.
Right.
Period.
Trust, right? Trust that you're going to do.
Trust you and really like you and know that you're knowledgeable in the industry.
Right.
If you can convey those three things to them, there should be no reason why you shouldn't get the business. So for us, that's what we focus on. And I really hope, that we instill based on all of our sales training and stuff that they can really learn the person and find out what their needs are and then be able to put that into a plan of action. So that's kind of what we do differently versus just this is what we do on every single listing.
Right.
It's going to be tailored to every single property.
All right, so I'm going to drill you down like a real interview questionnaire because you've been doing this long enough. You have a story, and I want that story to get across. What is a client watching right now, or maybe an agent looking for someone for some mentorship, that sort of thing. Tell us a story about maybe something you did some unique marketing on a listing.
Okay, let's think. Man, there's so many.
Yeah.
What?
The one with Mercedes, you, and Sammy. How Sammy got the buyer. That was a good one.
Oh, well, I'm trying to think. There's been so many. Honestly,
because you imagine you've run across some unique homes too. And based on this unique home, you had to do some creative marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just going to be as simple for every property where you just put it on social media and you do an open house and that's it.
Right.
With our agents, and I don't think there's one specific instance that if I come up with one, if I think of one, I'll let you know. So for the background too, is our business is based off of huge volume. So for instance, right now I have 32 listings on my own. Our team probably has, I think, 46 altogether with the couple of agents that we have. So it's a huge volume. It's sell them as quick as you can, turn and burn, let's go. And then we also trickle in a lot of traditional, like friends and family, who we have these higher end homes where you do have to put a little bit more marketing effort into, and you do have to do more hand holding and things like that, which we're very happy to do. But as far as I'm trying to think of.
Well, I'll actually, you work with flight builders. So when you approach that versus as an existing home, how are you marketing different? What is your strategies there? What have you been successful at?
So it's very different if you're going to be doing a new construction property. For instance, if I'm doing a flight builder's home, which they're going to start coming through the pipeline soon, they're in certain demographic of areas. So I'm going to narrow down. When I look at it, I work off of data and statistics. So I'm the first person that's going to go to the numbers. What do the numbers tell me? Because numbers don't lie. So the first thing is, how long are they going to sit on the market for? Are you comfortable with how long this is going to sit on the market for if you price it here or if you price it here?
Right.
So we're looking at all of that. And then also, how many properties are going to be available at that time? Are we going to have competition? Are we not going to have competition? Are we going to be the best thing on the market? Or do we have to say, okay, how are we going to, make up for that not being the best product on the market? The other thing is financing, right? So partnering has always been a little bit difficult in my personal experience because buyers typically come to you with their pre-approval already ready, and they're set on working with their bank. I bank with Navy Federal my entire life. I'm always going to bank with Navy Federal. That's it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll deal with it if I have to. But the other side is, if we're working with flight builders, there would be a partnership involved where we know that it's going to be probably a little bit of a lower income property or household. So how do we provide them with the best opportunity for them to purchase this property? We want to make sure that we eliminate any negatives, right? So if there's
any known obstacles,
right? So that's what, any obstacles, we're saying, no, we have a solution to that. It's basically coming up with a solution for every problem. And with that being said, there are a lot of very good lenders out there that are offering, grants, all kinds of different, opportunities for them to get free money.
Right.
Why would you not buy this house if we can finance it for you? We can, make it
minimal amount of money out of pocket,
if any, and really partner with those people.
Do you, when you're looking from a marketing side, like I said, looking at the demographics of the area, I mean, because I think like kind attracts like kind. You're generally a neighborhood. You could probably look across and everyone's making a range of income because the price points of the homes are similar, and just everyone's lifestyle because they're similar. They do certain things or whatever. So when you some of these properties, these more of a, I guess we'll call them starter homes, type of things in that area. When you actually do your marketing, physical marketing reach out to potential buyers, what are some of the avenues that you use? Whether it's one of these starter homes or you've got a $800 million home at Jack's Beach or something.
So regardless, our team is very much grinder mentality. We are boots on the ground. We will do, I have never met a house that I didn't benefit, especially in the market that we're in right now, doing open houses. People, for some reason, I don't know what it is, they have been more reluctant recently, and this is just based off of just firsthand experience, is they're reluctant to schedule a showing, but they will go to an open house all day long. I've had people who, I had one particular property.
Even with representation or?
Even with representation. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I had one particular property, I've had no showings on it. Every open house we have, it gets 12, 15 people through it. No idea why this is happening, but
is that at every price point, or are you finding
it's not at every price point? But I am finding that a lot more people are more comfortable just casually, because I think it might just be this particular environment that we're in real estate. I think that people are a little bit hesitant, especially in the price range that we dabble in with the majority of our business. Interest rates are very high. It is harder for them to afford these homes. So I think a lot of them are like, I don't know if I'm really looking, but I will go look at an open house. And if I love it, if they love it, they're in love with it.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it costs. They're going to want it. They're going to have it, right? 2024, you need to have things. You need to have them right away. That's just kind of the nature of it.
Because as you go up in the scale, at least from what I've seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if the house is priced right, it's in the right community and so forth, a lot of times it's sold before the Saturday open house already. It's already got offers on.
Oh yeah, we always market accordingly, so we try and ramp up our marketing. So we'll do like some sort of coming soon. We'll always get really good photos, really good videos. We do social media ads. We also on our website we have landing pages for every single one of our properties, so we try and boost those as well. The other thing is our agents will go and door knock the neighborhood. We've had tremendous success with this too. Not only for selling the properties, but also for getting additional leads. It might be old school, but it works.
So let's dig in it. So you have a listing coming soon, and they're out knocking on the doors a few days in advance of the listing going live.
Yep.
They're saying, hey, I just want to let you know we're going to be listing this house. Maybe we're going to have an open house on Saturday or whatever. how are you getting some business from that? How does that conversation go?
So we just had an opportunity the other day too, where actually Mercedes on our team was door knocking before one of her open houses. It was a listing coming soon. I think she wasn't going to put it up until Friday, do an open house on Saturday. She door knocked before that. A lady said, "Oh my gosh, I remember I kept your card from last year. Let's go to lunch next week. I still haven't sold my property. I would love to meet with you. This is a listing. It's going to be going live
Awesome.
soon." So people say it's putting in the work that nobody else wants to do is
Right.
what we do. Like I said in the beginning when we were talking earlier, there's not much glamour over here. Whether we do make it look, easy, but there is a lot of work. And if you put in the work, especially in the beginning, the success will come. But it's doing the things that other people don't want to do, and that's what makes us successful.
We're going to step back a little bit because I know I just went off on some of the things you said and want to dig deeper on. But what was going on that you made the move from working the marketing and working for corporate America or working for those companies to finally say enough's enough, I'm going into real estate?
So to be honest, I pulled the plug not knowing what I was going to do. But it was more a matter of lifestyle because when my husband
We're going to jump
home,
and see if the parachute opens.
Yes. Well, I always said I wanted to get my real estate license, and I was
Right.
like, I want to get it, and I'm not somebody who can just go online and do something. I want to physically sit in a building. I was the person who had to go to Watson and sit in the 7-day course or whatever.
Right.
It was from 8 to 5 and freeze my butt off in the little conference room and write down, take notes, and that's the way that I learn. I'm very, I have to be hands-on, and, I'm not, if I'm on a computer,
Yeah.
I'm not digesting. So, but it was lifestyle because I was working downtown every day. I live at the beach, and my husband was only home for 2 months at a time, and when he was home, he's off, right? So I had a little bit of FOMO there too. He's home, he's having fun.
And you're getting up and rolling out at 7:30 in the morning.
And having to drive, and I wasn't enjoying it. I was not happy. I didn't, it wasn't fulfilling me. What am I doing next, right? So I kind of just felt stuck. I wanted to kind of just jump into something else. And when I mentioned it to my husband at the time, actually we weren't even married at the time, actually it was my boyfriend. And he said, well, he's like, just quit. And I was like, okay. Well, that's enticing.
Right.
He's like, figure it out later. Well, who cares? And
Right.
I was like, that's all I needed was like somebody just to say, who cares?
Right.
Like you can figure it out. It's not, it's not the end of the world. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is refreshing. I try to be that way to my wife. You want to do it? I said, you're smart enough.
Yeah.
You've shown you survived. I mean, we all get kicked in the face, pushed down enough times, and it's all about getting back up.
Yeah.
And that gives you the confidence to say, you know what, I don't like working here. And you're young enough to make a change. Did you have just one child at that time? Or no
At that time, I didn't have any
You
kids.
didn't have any
Yeah.
children at that time. So that even makes it even easier, right?
That was the thing. We didn't have kids. We owned a home. We had, there was nothing that we needed or that we would, do without if, I didn't have the job at the time. So.
Right. All right. So one thing I always like to dig in, because I always think my listeners out there, whether it's a new agent or there's an agent who's maybe hit a lid, maybe they're, because I think brokerages, they'll all tell you they're going there because the education is great and they have the technology. Well, let me tell you what, that's everybody. They're all going to tell you that. You get there, things change. Leadership changes. Leadership dulls out. They, are excited maybe at the time when you're coming on, but all of a sudden a couple of years go by and they're not excited anymore. Maybe whatever is going on in their lives, right? So we make changes. So you mentioned you went to Watson, and you started your career there. But looking back and looking at your new agents, what do you think is an important thing as someone looking to get into this business? How much does being with the right brokerage, and it may be the right brokerage at that day and time for a couple of years, you may have to eventually change brokerages because your business has changed. How important is that role that, those people that are at that brokerage, whether it's a mentor or their leadership or just someone who you could rely on when you had a question, you ran across something you didn't know about. But how important is choosing the brokerage that you're with?
It really depends where you want to go with your business, I think. I think brokerage is not as important as a mentor is, like you said, or, obviously a lot of people get their license and they just say, oh, well, like, here, I got my license, now what?
Yeah.
They have no idea. And I don't know of a brokerage that will they'll hold your hand through that entire process. Yes, Keller Williams has tremendous training. They do offer classes and things like that. But and if you're going to have to be the one to go
shows
to
up.
them,
You got to get out of bed.
and you're going to be the one that's going to have to go to them and ask all these questions and sit there and, I don't know anyone at any brokerage who's going to be available to you the way that you probably needed to be if you're just starting out. I think that regardless of the brokerage you're at, I think you should always have a mentor. I don't care if they're at your brokerage or at another brokerage, or even if it's a business, it's just business in general, or where you want to go. Meet with a bunch of different people. I don't think you have to have that decision made up either, but just to get your brain acclimated to learning and seeing what kind of opportunities are there for you and which one you fit best with. So I think mentors are just tremendous. Like I said, I to my personal opinion, I don't think that there's one specific brokerage for anyone. It's just because you can mold how real estate, this is the other part too, is we talked about it earlier, is everybody, when they first get their license, they're in this box. Right? They're in this box. This is all I know. This is residential real estate. I'm going to show these houses. They're going to be beautiful. It's going to be HGTV. Right? And the sooner that you can break out of that box, the sooner you're going to be successful. Because real estate, I don't think is a one box fits all. And you have to be able to kind of break the mold to be able to say, there's not one solution for anyone, and that's the agent who's going to win, is the one who can offer multiple solutions. But back to the team thing and the brokerage is, I will say that, Keller Williams specifically, because I'm not that knowledgeable about a bunch of different brokerages. I would love to say that I am.
Right.
I worked at Watson for a little bit. It was at the end of my street. I was like, I had two friends that were like, we want you to be our agent when you get your license. I said, okay, how do I do that?
How fast can I sign up?
Like, right here, turn it in. So I turned into Watson, and I worked in Jan Shield's office, so I got a lot of education there. And the broker, I believe her name was Ann, she was really great. I would be in her office every single day. How do I run this comp? What do you think this house is worth? Can I go here? What do you think? I'm knocking on all these for sale by owner. I mean, I did what they train you in, because I didn't know any better. I didn't have any experience or anyone tell me what to do. I would call, and I called every single for sale by owner. I would door knock them. I expired listings and friends and family. And my first year in the business, I probably did more business than most, just at the timing too. That time, all my friends were buying houses or selling houses that they were now buying with their new fiance, or they own two homes together, and now they wanted me to sell both of them so they can buy one house together. I'm like, this is tremendous. I got 3 transactions.
Rates were low, and
rates were low. It was great.
Yeah.
But I will say, being specific to our team is, all I can say for Keller Williams is Keller Williams will put you through a program, right? When they call it, I believe it's Ignite. They have other opportunities where they put you through, contract class. You go over leads, you go over how to cultivate leads, you go over how to do open houses, and it's a month-long everyday course, and I think it's great. Some people can sit through there and do it. Other people need to be more hands-on, where I think the best training is doing. And then they're also not going to hold your hand once you get out of there, right? Like, we've given you all the tools, we're here for you, but if you call them every single day, they're not going to be available every single day all the time. I don't care who you are, because you're busy. You've got 100 agents that you're a broker to. Or more. And so either you have a specific mentor within the brokerage that you're at, or you join a team.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because it sounds like you were way you described it, you were dependent on the broker. That was the point person. Looking back, or if you were, educating a girlfriend who may not be local, because obviously you'd want to recommend yourself to mentor them. But what would you say? Hey, you need to look for these things. Whether it's calling on some of these agents, because I think a lot of these people do end up going, hey, where their girlfriend went, or Watson was down the street, so you got fortunate enough that you had the go-gettedness to go out and find out how it's done, where some people are bashful in a sense because they don't know what really to ask. And so they don't ask, and then they're out of the business in 2 years. So if you were coaching someone today, or what would be the perfect ideal situation for a new agent coming in, what are some of the things they need to think about, and find beyond the broker, looking at other agents and being involved in there?
I think you always need, and this should be in any business opportunity is you need to find out what your goal is for it, right? So my first year, I got my real estate license. Well, what do you want to do with it? I want to be a realtor. Okay, well, what, is it money driven? Do you want to make X amount of money and that's why you became a realtor? Are you doing it for your flexibility? Because I guarantee you're going to be working 24/7. It's like, I thought it was a joke. It was like, I got tricked into this. I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Do you think we go 24/7 because there's no cap?
There's no cap.
So we just keep going.
It's an opportunity, right? It's
yeah.
like, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Right. But you can. The other misconception is that you don't have to work 24/7. Like if you set expectations, the first person that you need to set expectations with is yourself. And then once you set expectations for yourself, you need to set expectations with your clients. So if somebody sends me an offer at 10 o'clock at night, I won't respond. But if I do happen to be awake, I said, you're welcome to send me an email and I'll respond to you during normal business hours, because you're interrupting in my personal life and you have to have a balance over it. In the beginning, it's very, very hard because you don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Oh my gosh, the client's I got to go right now. Right. And it's like, well, do you, because if if they can tell that you appreciate your time and you value your time and your money and your energy in your life, they're also going to appreciate that and hopefully have that mutual understanding.
Well, that's interesting. Like they send you the offer. I think people a lot of times they don't read into it. When someone sends you an offer at 10 o'clock, they're just getting it off their to-do list. Yeah. They got the offer to doing it so they can go to sleep. Yeah. They don't really expect you to respond.
Oh, they text you right away and say, "Can you please respond?"
Oh, okay, well that's different. That's different. If it's funny how text messages urgency is calling you like, "Hey, oh my God, this is what's happening. I need an urgent response. Yeah. I'm talking to you." Yeah. Text message to me is not. Shouldn't be. Although we all have we want to respond right away to our text message, right? Yeah.
I think we just need to.
It's kind of like email.
I try to train people when they're working with me, and I set expectations. I say, if there's agents on the other side, I'm like, hey, the best form of communication, in which I will say I think DJ and Lindsay does this, but a certain type of transaction, their transaction coordinators kind of handle their business for them, is they will say in their opening email, what is the best form of communication that I can get in touch with you as? I always say email. Because I'm here, right? I'm not on my phone. I'm not, but my email will be there when I get there. And that's going to be the best way you're going to have my fullest attention versus I'm driving around, I'm doing podcasts, I'm going to houses, I'm training, I'm doing sales training with my team, I'm doing one-on-ones with my agents, I'm doing leadership training, I've got a son I'm picking up from school. If you email me, I will respond. You will never have a response more than by the end of the day.
You should put that thing like when you set an appointment at the doctor's office, if this is an emergency, dial 911.
I seriously, my friends tell me that all the time. Sometimes it's like they'll call you 4 or 5 times in a row, and they're like, the lockbox code isn't working, and I'm like, okay, well there's nothing I can physically do to be there. I can't poof, I'm at the house with a hammer. I don't know how to help you. I apologize. Right. Also, there's a million people you could call. You call the office, you can call showing time, you can do this. So I feel like, and that's just the nature of the beast, is people, it's the same thing. People are anxious. They want, I got to get in, I got my client in, they're not going to work with me if I don't do this, which I think everyone could do a better job of setting those expectations.
No doubt.
Because we've gotten in a world where it's just this whirlwind and people really need to.
Well, there's a couple of things. Time blocking, right? Setting the expectations. That's probably, it's like an endless, thing that you're trying to perfect in the business. I'm trying to think what the third one was. I lost track because I was trying to put those three in the order. But it's constantly something that we're in this business that we're trying to constantly perfect and never quite gets there. There's only probably a few people that might have made it out the other side that has this, or they have that assistant that when everything goes through, that they're getting it and then filtering it to them, and now they're answering what they need to answer and not all the other junk that we get.
Which I probably could use one of those.
Yeah. Well, I know what it was. So one of the challenges that I think every agent has as they go through the progression and get better and better, whether it's in their first year and a half, 2 years, or 3 years into it, eventually they reach that lid where they can only do so much as a single person, again, whatever other things they got going on in their lives. How do you, I don't know if you've had any of your young agents meet this, you probably met this. What is what should be the first thing they should be doing? What should they be looking to do if you're kind of like feel you're full and you're having to almost turn away business, what you don't want to do? What would be some of the first steps that you'd walk through? Is, you know, someone sat down and had coffee with you, say, what should I do, man? I'm turning away business because it's just me.
I think the easiest thing to do is find an agent to refer it to. I always tell my agents, like, obviously we have a team now, but in the past when I had single agents and other agents that I mentored and friends, I would say, well, what do you care? You don't have the time to deal with them, but you're going to get 25, 35% if you just give it to this other agent for doing nothing. And you can check up on the process with them. You can be as involved or as less involved as you want. Referrals are a great opportunity where you don't, because hiring's hard. Hiring's tough. You have to find somebody that is going to mesh with you. You have to train them how you want to do business. And then you have to make sure that continually manage them to make sure that they are doing what you want them to do and treating your clients the way you want to treat them. When otherwise you could just refer it to somebody and make money off of it. I mean, referral source is a great opportunity. People, I think, don't use it as much because they're missing out on that opportunity. And I think it's the same thing with that mindset when people come to us and say, oh, what are your splits? Sorry, your mindset's somewhere else. Oh, well, I'm going to miss out on X amount of money. Well, you would have missed out on all of the money.
Yeah, right.
So, would you rather make $2,000 or zero?
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
It's that easy. And to me, I would always just say whatever the easiest route is for you. Also, keep your sanity. You'll be doing your clients a disservice if you're going to continue to take on this business and not being able to perform at the level that they need you to perform.
When you talk about hiring, tell us about Flight Group. What's your support there from the non-agents?
Yep.
Yeah.
So as far as there's a couple different, that's kind of a loaded question. We got a couple different answers here. But as far as support that we have on our team now, we have a full-time marketing person, Elena. She's here. She comes with us everywhere. So she's with us full-time support for our team as a whole, but also for the individual agents. So if the individual agents want to do their own branding or their own, specific, whatever, email to their sphere or buyer's presentations, they want to target it, they want to do specific to their specific listings, she's here to help. She also promotes us doing PR as well, setting up things like this, different events. So we have Elena. We also have a full-time transaction coordinator that helps us with all of our transactions. We have Keller Williams, which is a tremendous support as well, handling all the finance side, making sure we get paid, making sure all of our compliance is good on top of it. And then the rest are agents. We are in the process of hiring a VA too, so there'll be kind of a full-time VA for us to handle any administrative opportunities that may come along. I know we need it. We've got a lot going on that right now it's mainly me handling the majority of the operations too. We have some of the best systems. We've done a lot of research on what CRMs are going to be the best to promote us to the next level. We have one of the best websites that cultivates leads. We also are always looking for additional referral opportunities. And then we also do different type of ad campaigns as well. So we have digital marketing on top of that. So we kind of got the whole package there as far as to be able to support the agents. And then an additional support with that, our leadership also offers, we do, to keep us really structured and together as a team, we do 9 a.m. calls every single morning. You can Zoom in or they'll go from the office. So everybody tells us what their top 3 things that they need to get done that day.
So you're holding some accountability.
Oh, we have tremendous accountability, which it seems at first, I used to fight it myself. I was like, I can never do this. But now it's become structured. It's this accountability that it's not scary. It actually is like, okay, I gotta, if you're a single agent by yourself, you could literally just dawdle around until 10 o'clock and drink your coffee, but you could have already done so many things by 10 o'clock, right? If you had somebody saying, hey, what are you doing today? And they're like, oh my gosh, I could have already done that. So our calls in the morning are really important. And then there's a lot of times where we can answer those problems for anyone, or if they're having any issues, we can solve them for them right then. Hey, I got to call this guy. Oh, I already talked to him yesterday. He wants this from you. Can you go ahead and send it to him?
Right. Right.
So really easy to solve those right away the first thing in the morning. I also have one-on-ones with the agents. So once a week, I have meet for 15, 30 minutes with each agent, and we go over anything that they're working on, they're struggling with, anything that I can help with, anything, new marketing ideas that they want to come up with, and if we can implement them, we will.
Right.
And then we also meet on a monthly basis where they have outlined their entire quarter, their entire year, sometimes 5, 10, 15 years down the line, whatever they're comfortable with. We have what we call alignments, where we meet with our agents once a month to say, hey, are we meeting our goals? And they're not necessarily, they are team goals. We do make goals every quarter that we call our rocks, and we check in on them once a week with the whole team. And everybody has to go in and be held accountable, and everyone says, oh, you didn't do what you said you were going to do last week. And we're not, you're not off the team, you're not, but we will help you. Why didn't you meet those goals? Can we help you meet those goals? And they're personal and they're business related. So we want to make sure that you are aligned essentially with all of those things. So we do have an extra level of accountability, but I think a lot of people, they're hesitant about it. I could tell you right now, I have ADD, 100%. It's but I don't want structure, but I thrive off of structure.
Right.
It's the same thing with a kid who they will have to go to bed at a certain time. They should eat at a certain time. They should do this at a certain time because it makes their life easier. Right. So that doesn't go away.
Because if you were given that list at 9 o'clock in the morning,
yeah.
Hey, this is what you need to do today, you'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which ones can I knock out in a few minutes? Which one's going to take me an hour? And you're gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the things we do. We also try and do a monthly outing together. What was it? April, March, we went to TPC together. We always do a dinner or a celebration or something to do. And I think a lot of people, when they join a brokerage too, they think they're joining a team, because it's in human nature to want to be part of something, right? People want to be
something greater than themselves.
But they also want to be just that's why people have friends, right? They want to be around people. That's human nature. So when you join a brokerage, I think that people think that's what's going to happen for you. And I got to tell you, when I go to Keller Williams, there's 4 people in that office. So if you think you're going to the office to mingle and be around other people, that's probably not going to be the case.
Right.
Unless you do join an office where there are a lot more people there. But most people are out in the field. The agents who are most successful are the ones that are out getting business and generating business and meeting with new clients and doing things like that. So they shouldn't really be in the office all the time.
Right.
Unless they're making calls or doing admin follow-ups or doing trainings. It's another thing too, is we do weekly sales trainings too. If you're making calls, you have a certain number of calls that you should meet based to meet your goals, not to meet the team's goals. Hey, I need you to make X amount of calls and you're required to do it. You said you wanted to make X amount of money, and we broke that down for you based off of how many calls you should make, how many open houses you should have, how many appointments you should go on, and we have those measurables to back it up to be able to tell you and provide to you that information.
In the loan world, we obviously a loan officer. Some people have assistants. Some people have really good processors, and then obviously underwriting is they're doing what they're doing. They're making sure that after the processor and the loan originator gets everything together, but there's a process. My attitude is, as a real estate agent, we should be out there, getting the business. We originally take the loan, we structure the loan. We have, we're educated in what loan type should work, and we put it down. And generally, the underwriters just make sure all the documents are there. And they're going through the processor first. A good processor is going to chase down all those little, things that are needed that are required by compliance, right? All those, make sure all the right pay stubs are there, dated a certain way, and that sort of thing. And on your team, so how are you structuring that agent who is acquiring the deal? Do you have a structure hey, at this point, you now need to hand it off? I know some of your other Keller Williams teams, I know they're very structured, and okay, at this point, now the transaction coordinator takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that work at Flight Group?
So I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think that a transaction coordinator should take over a whole transaction ever. I think that the agent is always needed. If you can just hand over everything to a transaction coordinator, why do we need you? Also, it's a lot
well,
of
you got to go out and acquire the client.
Well, yeah,
That's why the transaction coordinator's in the cube, right?
I get it. And we we do have a lot of that support, and the majority, you do have to have a lot of communication to that transaction coordinator too, because a lot of, specific, it depends on the client too. I think it's I don't think it's a one size fit all. At this point, you go and you hand it off to your TC, because I've got a lot of clients who they only want to work with me. They're not going to work with a TC.
Right.
Documentation, anything like that, paperwork, all of that's taken care of for sure. But do you need to know how to do it? Yes, you do, because I always would review any TC's work, because it's just, they're human, right? So our agents, like for instance, I have a very new agent. She got her license in January. She came on our team. I personally trained her on every single, I had her go to contract classes on top of it. I don't know everything, I want her to see what other people are doing as well.
Right.
But she knows those contracts inside and out. She knows how to talk to people. She knows what the amendments need to say. She knows everything to be able to convey that to the transaction coordinator. I have worked with so many agents who they have no idea what that contract says, because they were told at this stage in the game, I just hand it off to my TC and I don't have to do anything.
Your episode 191, if 180 have been real estate agents, every one of them said, yeah, you need to continue to take the contract class, take it from different people, because everyone has their different area that they think is important in that contract because of their experiences. And if there's any one class you want to continue to go to and not just say, oh yeah, I took that 3 years ago, I'm done with it. No, I can't do that.
You have to continue to do it, because it changes all the time. I even came across something that I didn't, know not too long ago, and that also keeps you in tune with the negotiation too. If you don't know that on X day, that's when you get their binder, the other agent doesn't know it, that's not on you, that's on them, and not that I'm in a business of taking people's money, but I am in the business of making people damn sure
do what they said they're going to do.
They said they're going to do,
right,
right. And to have my agents back and say, no, and this is the same thing that our brokers do too. I think, back to the brokerage thing too, I think having a very good broker is a game changer too, that's the majority of the people that I work with, specifically anytime I've been at a brokerage, is being able to pick up the phone, and I've referred other agents, hey, talk to your broker about that, because I know what my broker's going to say, and I know what I know, but they might say something different, and if you don't have a broker that you can call, which a lot of people don't, unfortunately, it's just a different ballgame.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. It's you have to have people. Since Elena's left us, we can talk about her. You have.
That means she has. If she really watched this,
she hopefully she tuned in. She's on. Yeah. She's tuned in live, or she'll listen to this later. Yeah. But you have someone dedicated to marketing, which I think marketing, and you have the background in it. Marketing, to me, is using a lot of creativity, and it's changing all the time depending on the market. Just you think about over the last 10 years in the sense of social media and how's that playing. And I know people ask all the time, are you getting business off social media? And Josh Rogers said it so perfectly. He says, if you don't think you're getting business off social media and you don't you can't measure it or don't see it, and then stop doing social media and see what happens. So you obviously see an importance. I imagine there's probably many other teams the same size as yours, probably even some bigger, that haven't actually made the investment in a marketing person. So what do you have Elena doing to support the team? What is some base core requirements that she's having to, she does every day, every week, every month?
We have a social media calendar. So every month she comes up with that. Mm-hmm. So we have X amount of posts that go live on every certain days within the week. We also so she's in charge of all of our social media platforms. Mm-hmm. So we have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. She also manages our website. So any changes that need to be made or anything like that, she manages that. She also does all of our ads. So she does anytime we have a new listing, she can promote that for us. She also designs she handles all of our photo shoots. She designs any kind of marketing material that we want to do. Emailer campaigns. Gosh, what else? PR stuff. All of that takes time. And if you're busy doing your business, you shouldn't be the one fiddling with Canva and going on, I didn't post today, or I need to post today, unless you really like it. And I have some people who they're much better. Our team specifically is not very good at that organic stuff where we're like, hey, walk in this house. And I don't know what's better or worse, but...
Do you find agents can almost get caught up in doing because like I said, you can't measure. It's not like, hey, I posted this ad in the Sunday paper and I got a bunch of calls on it. Or, hey, I did this open house on Saturday and X amount of people showed up. You're doing these things for, the only thing you can say is that this is a long-term play.
Yeah, I think it's a very much of a more of a
ongoing,
ongoing, hey, we see you everywhere. So when it does come the time for them to sell or to buy, they're going to think of you because you're the people that they see everywhere.
Right.
And I just think that marketing takes so much time and effort and to make it to the whole branding and designing and making sure that it's on the right platform and is the platform being seen and those ever changing things like we talked about. I mean, Instagram alone, well, now it's a different size, so now your image looks weird. And
right.
I don't have time to mess with that. What am
right.
I would sit there for hours and try and mess with it and I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, if you were talking with a perspective, maybe an experienced agent, you're trying to recruit them onto the team, because I imagine they're spending probably way too much time on, like you said, learning how Canva works, right? There's new editing software, all this other stuff is changing all the time. And then you got to learn how to use, their thing and you type of that. How do you explain how you're going to take that off their plate?
So in the very beginning, there's a consultation once you reach. So we have a program that we've put together that's specifically to our team and what we expect of the agents in the first 90 days. So you have to hit X amount of measurables. There's all kinds of courses to go to. There's trainings that we want you to attend. There's trainings we want to do with you personally. Part of that is meeting with Elena, and Elena is going over what your goals are for marketing too. And if you don't know, she'll help you. So we have kind of a new agent package that we provide everyone. The simple stuff like you'll get new headshots, you'll get new business cards, you'll get X amount of posts that saying, welcome, like announcing myself being in real estate, and however you want to do that. If you want to create it in a newsletter, we're creative. She can create. Well,
that's someone who's never done it before, so they don't know how much time this takes. Yeah. That sounds all great. Corporate America is going to pretty much do that type of thing, but that experience, I assume I don't know, maybe are you really focused on more of the newer agents and grow them the flight group way, or are you, because we talked about a little bit before the show about recruiting, are you looking for some experienced agents that may already have some business that want to grow?
Pros and cons.
Go to the next,
right?
Yeah.
Is I would love to have somebody who is ready to grow to the next level and join our team. That wouldn't be, I don't have to go over every single contract with them. That would be great.
Right.
But at the same time, I do want them to. We do have a certain way that we would like our business to do. So, are they going to be willing to mold into how we work? And I think that's a different type. That's a certain type of personality, and I think that there's going to be plenty of opportunity for those type of people to join too. It's just, are they open to it? We're not our way or the highway. We would love to learn from people too. I don't think that there is one set way, but we do have certain structure that we will do. But also back to the marketing thing for them, if they already have their brand and stuff, it's aligning it with ours, and Elena can help us do that. So we do have, I'm very specific with our marketing. I want it to look a certain way. There's certain fonts or certain colors or certain logos.
Right.
There's a certain voice that we, present when we are presenting, and I want them to be very in tune with that too.
Well, I think it goes back, we were talking a little bit about finding the right brokerage, and this great, finding the right team lead.
Yep.
Where do you want your business to grow, right? If you are into, because obviously, your background in investing and flipping homes and so forth, which we haven't even gotten into yet, but if that's the area that you're interested in and have that interest, is what's Flight Group doing going to take you to another. There might be a total another group that's doing something totally different that, again, talking to these other people and how they're doing their real estate business is where, to educate that agent that's out there right now, who, whether it's new or just solo on their own, if you want to grow your business and surround yourself by people doing the business the way at least you think you want to do your business. I think everyone kind of, over time changes, where they're at. How important is actually, to sit down with you? Is this the way Flight Group does it? Do you see yourself fitting into it? Or maybe going over to Christina Welch's team or CC Underwood's team, or how they do business, and maybe that's more your fit. How important is to find out actually what fits your personality or just your mindset on how business should be done?
Yeah, that's really important for us. I think I can kind of answer that by what our hiring process is. Our hiring process is pretty in-depth. First, most of the time, we have people people who reach out to us all the time, the first thing we do is we send them a personality survey. And we have certain criteria that we are looking for in specific agents, and they're personality based. There's categories. It's not a disc profile. It's kind of similar, but it will tell you spot on based off of their answers, no right or wrong answer, what category and what type of person they are, how they react to stress, how they react to, do they want to be somebody who has to do one task at a time and they are not easily distracted, or are they very easily distracted and they can't multitask, or they get really angry really easily, they don't take, criticism very well, or they have to be my way or the highway type people, and they're categorized in all these different profiles. And we're educated on all those different profiles as to who we want on our team. If they don't meet within, X amount of categories, we know they're not going to be a good fit. That's where it is.
Where did you start? Where did you start? Where did you pick that up? Because I think everyone thinks like, okay, well that's important, but why? And so I have, I in my mind, I want to hear what, somewhere along the line you found out this was important, whether it's because you brought someone in the team who was a bad apple. And obviously I know, the Hilfer and Bliss team with their wine right here, how they're very picky who they bring in because they don't want that bad apple in the bucket. And did you pick that up because of some trial and error, or did you just, listening, going to conferences, trainings, or whatever, said, hey, yeah, I need to do this because this is the way some of these top people are doing it. I agree with them. Yeah.
So I actually take full credit is given to Yellowbird and Pat Flynn over there. He kind of implemented that, and we are still in partnership with them at Flight Builders, we have access to that information. So we not only do we have our, the flight group at Keller Williams, we also have access to everything Flight Builders has access for their company. So they're generous enough to provide us with that education and help us with, trainings and the leadership part of it, and also, with those personality profiles and stuff like that, and hiring processes, because we, I will say back at Yellowbird, we grew so quickly that there were, not always the best apples were there, and did we do it right from the beginning? Probably not. And then there's also the influence of, well, they're friends with so-and-so, or well, they've done this much business, or I can tell you right now, I'm not always somebody who would be like the survey is the end all be all, unless it's somebody who is just like off the rocker, right? Like if that survey tells me that they
don't match up at all,
like I'm not going to even go. But like, for instance, my personality is not, I probably would have never gotten hired in the position that I'm in for, if I would have done that from get-go, because I'm not somebody, so my personality profile based off of the survey company that we use is called a Rainmaker. The Rainmaker cannot be controlled. It cannot be. So me joining a team is not ideal because I'm going to do things the way that I want to do it. Rules are not really, something that I care about too much. We'll figure it out. Just more, but the other side of it
rules are just guidelines.
Rules are just guidelines. Rules are just guidelines, which is kind of how I've always lived my life, which I think is also important in certain, especially in being an entrepreneurship opportunity and commission base, is you have to be able to break the mold and go against the rules sometimes to find solutions that are going to work for you and your business, right? Yes, we do have to come back down and follow the rules, and that's why we're part of a brokerage, right? The brokerage comes, Jannah, you got to do this. Okay, I'll do it. It's fine. Or I'll hire somebody else to do it for me. That's knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, I think, is the biggest thing when you are doing those surveys. I very much know what my strengths are, and I very much know what my weaknesses are. And being able to establish those for your agents too is really important, because you can help them. Okay, well, let me know. Do we need to hire another agent to help you come up to where you need to be, or do we need to hire more support? Happy to do it. But you have to communicate to me, hey, I'm drowning. Hey, I need more help. Hey, I can personally help you, but I can also hire somebody to help you, and I'm happy to do it if the need is there.
Well, I mean, just so many people, like I said, obviously hiring is expense, right? You're right. So they're gonna they're gonna get a little less commission. And how many people? What's the saying? They'll to give up a few dollars here to make tens of more dollars over there. Some people are like, don't quite get that. Do you want the whole grape or half the watermelon? It's like some people just don't quite grasp it, that hey, I'm really not good at marketing.
Yeah.
Let Elena do that. She takes that off my plate now. All of a sudden, how many hours of the day has just been opened up and the month and that sort of thing for me to actually go home or go to my kids' thing. And now I'm happier, and now I do better business because I'm happier. Or I can go work out. I don't feel like workout's taking up my time. I can actually go work out, and now I feel good and I do better business because I'm coming across with so some great business. We've spent a lot of time on business.
Yeah.
So anyone looking to grow a team, hire people, and that sort of thing, they need to listen to. Let's flip into which I think is always a great topic because so many people want to do it. But the markets have changed a little bit. The 10 years you've been with Yellowbird and so forth. Tell us, how you got involved with them, and then what are some of the great things that you obviously learned in that experience, especially during the peak times and working and obviously becoming their acquisition manager. Was that what it was? The senior acquisition?
We did
senior acquisition something. Senior acquisition and leadership. What that actually meant, and then obviously how you're taking it to your business and training your agents now that are coming in on this part of the business that a lot of people don't actually get into.
So I'll kind of backtrack to the beginning is the same thing that I said earlier. When you get your license, you're in a box. This is what I know. This is what I'm going to do. And I never knew anything about investing. I didn't know. I thought HGTV2, right? This is what I'm going to do. This is residential. That's it. I made some changes. Obviously, we talked about I had a son. My husband changed his career. We kind of flipped things around. I wanted a new start. Anytime I do a fresh new thing, I know a lot of people do this. They get a haircut. They have to buy a new wardrobe or something. I want to move in a house. Like I needed to rip off the Band-Aid, do something else. So I switched brokerages at that time. That's when I switched to go to Keller Williams, and I joined a team because I just had been out for a little while. I stayed home for a year with my son. I wasn't working, and I was like, I want to get back into this. I have to get back into this. And I joined a team, and when I joined that team, they kind of introduced me to the investing world, and part of that was meeting Pat and Kyle during that time. And they had just started, they were just getting ready to start Yellowbird. Pat had just started working with Kyle, and he had just started investing, and so all of us were kind of new. Kyle wasn't new to this world, but the rest of us were. Right. And so I was learning more about it, and I was like, okay, well, also people kept saying at the time, the industry's going to change, or we're going to have a crash, or it's going to happen. So in my mind, I'm thinking personally for me, the other part is I'm home, single mom basically at the time, my husband's not home a lot. I have to work X amount of hours. I can't be out showing houses all the time. I can't be doing open houses every weekend. What can I do where I am secure enough, where I have the same clients, and I can work in an office essentially, but I also have that flexibility.
A little pipeline of business.
Pipeline of business that will always be there, even if the market tanks like it was supposed to 6 years ago.
Right.
Here we are.
Right.
So I will always have that business. And guess what? Working with investors, if they're selling when it's good, they're buying when it's bad. So that was my mindset is I'm going to, always have a position where if I position myself with these people, I'm going to have opportunity no matter what I do. And that was what my mindset was. And so I left the team to go work directly with Yellowbird because they wanted somebody that was going to be, which is most investors do, they want somebody that's going to be their agent, right? They want to have that exclusive opportunity where they have them full time and all of their attention because they're going to get better service that way versus a lot of agents work with a bunch of different people, right? Yeah. So I thought it was a tremendous opportunity. Yellowbird, they didn't even have a name yet. We can't, the name started, they were flowing in, and here we are. And they were like, just start selling our houses. I was like, okay, I can do that. And then it started becoming, we'll sell the houses for all of our people we joint venture with. Oh, well, we did a loan for this guy. Can you sell his house? Oh, well, my sister wants me, and, and then it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And at one point, I'm a single agent, essentially, with 56 listings.
Oh, wow.
And I'm managing it because I'm a crazy person somehow. I don't know.
That's crazy.
And so it just snowballed. But I've maintained those relationships, and as they've come, I'm very realistic with people too. I used to be the point where I said, I can't do, if it was business, friends, or family, I'd refer them to somebody else. And that was where I kind of started out with that was, hey, I want to retain this money, but at the same time, I don't have, I'm devoted to, this is my number one client. I'm not going to, ruffle their feathers at all, so I'm
Right.
going to give it to other people. And I was always fine with that because you can only do so much as a human.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started. And then Yellowbird, and it was just literally in the beginning, it was me, Pat, and Kyle. We had a marketing person. We had like an accountant and a transaction coordinator. And we had a couple other people in the office as well. Then when we moved and started expanding and wanting to grow it, I kind of just was along for the ride. All right, well, let's keep going. What else is next? And then we ended up having an acquisition team. And that was more important because that's where the business came from, right? So
Acquisition, someone out there searching for the opportunities.
So it used to be Pat. Pat was the one he did all of the acquisitions. Kyle did all of the acquisitions. Kyle did the foreclosures or however they came about it. Pat would send out the marketing and he would go on meet all the appointments. And it was just, that was it. I sold the properties, So it was just us circulating. And then when they wanted to grow and they saw an opportunity to create this, mega investment company, we had to hire more people. And that was another thing that, we learned from different education and stuff is you can't do everything on your own. So we continued to hire people and have systematic processes for that and grow as we did. And it became...
Because I've heard some numbers of the number of properties that they had at any one time. Because they held some of them. Right? I mean, it's not like they were flipping all these properties. The property management side. Did you just outsource that?
So that was a separate company. So they did own a separate company for that as well. So there was a property management company that was involved. And then as they sold off those properties, that property management company went away.
All right. So you were, at I guess almost like a fire hose of experience coming at you, inquiring, working with investors. You're fixing up these homes. Some of them you're holding, some of them you're selling, depending on, obviously the market material. So now things have changed a little bit, but because of that experience, how are you're still doing a little bit of that yourself? Like you said, I think you said something about, we were joking before, you went out and bought a house that you want to flip. How important is it? Because I think everyone wants to do it, but to get with someone that's done it before can save you a lot of headaches.
Yep.
And if you may make a little bit more money on that first flip, but you probably won't do a second because of the headaches.
Oh, yeah.
Of all the things and the stress of doing it. To get with someone like yourself and do a few and maybe become one of those. Maybe you just like to be the sideline person, or maybe you like to be the person that finds the property or wants to invest in it because you have the importance. Because I imagine you have multiple contacts, including your husband, as a contractor to get these projects done.
So there's 3 parts to every deal, especially in investing. You have finding the deal, financing the deal, and then the renovation, right? So to do all 3 is very hard. To do all 3 well is even harder. You have to really work with somebody who has done it before because it's going to take all of your time if you've never done it before, all of your time. And the other part too is if you want to be, we've gone through phases with me and my husband too, where it's like, I wanted to do one and then he didn't want to do one because his business is too important or my business is too important at the time. It's got to be your main focus, right? Because you just have option. You can just get a house from anyone, right? You're in it, I'm like, it's still going to take effort on my part to call people, like rock the houses, run the numbers. I mean, sometimes, especially in the market right now, I know Cooper on our team, he does a lot of the acquisitions and wholesales and stuff, and he's underwriting, 50 houses before he might get one that's maybe decent money. And I think a lot of people look at the numbers wrong up front too. I'm very conservative when I run my numbers, but I've run them so many times that I could tell you, generally speaking, this is what I think it'll sell for. This is what it's going to cost you to hold it. People always mess up on their holding costs. That's what gets them the majority of it the time, I will say. And then this is how much it's going to cost in renovation. It's, there's no way it's going to cost me that. I'm like, it will absolutely cost you every penny of this, if not more, because you're going to have screw ups too. And a lot of times,
if you come under, great.
Yeah, if you come under, great. So you got to have a big buffer. Also,
don't shortchange yourself.
What is it worth your time, right? So evaluate that too. I know some people, they're like, find me a deal. I'm like, okay, well, what is a deal to you? Some people, like, average deals right now are like $25,000, $30,000 back to how it was in normal time, during like the last couple of years when the market was just crazy, you could do anything, throw it up there and it would sell, and not even necessarily a good product, your average deal was making $50,000-$80,000. I mean, that was just killing.
Right.
And you barely had to do any work because there was no inventory. There's no competition, right? We're not in that market anymore. So if it's worth it to you where you can scale it, or $25,000, $30,000 is great to you, or it's side money or something like that, that's great. But that's something that I need to know going into it. I can't just say, find me a deal.
Right.
But those three things, you are better off a lot of times handing it over to somebody else who's already done it, unless you are committed to that being your main objective.
Right.
Dabbling in this,
time wise, when you look at a property, say, yeah, we probably in this market we don't want to hold it. We're going to flip it. We can, 25,000-30,000 net profit is what we figure we're going to make on it. You're conservative. Maybe if everything comes in perfectly and the stars line up, maybe you make 40,000. A type of thing. What kind of time frame are you thinking about on some of these properties too, and engaging, knowing the holding costs?
Yeah, so it depends on how large the renovation is and how quick you have people lined up to do it too. I mean, I have people who get caught up with permits, and then they get caught up, they just have a new permitting system downtown, and a lot of people got caught up in that.
And that's experience, knowing how that works.
Yep.
And someone doing it for the first time will not know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So also what needs to be permitted, what doesn't need to be permitted, what is going to come up on an home inspection. If you're planning on selling a home on the residential market, it has to be at certain standards, which a lot of people don't know, that, this isn't insurable. I got a roof denied the other day that was 6 years old. Insurance won't cover it. 6-year-old roof. Because there wasn't a permit on it when it was originally done, which is way past.
How'd they prove it was 6 years?
Well, it had 6 years useful life.
Okay.
Remaining,
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they said it's 6 years useful life remaining.
But we don't have any permit.
But we have no permit on the original, date that it was installed. Uninsurable, have to replace it. Like it's in great shape.
Right.
In a normal world, that doesn't make any sense. But now we're $15,000. And it's the only way it's going to sell. It doesn't matter if it's FHA, conventional, VA, because it's not a lending thing. It's an insurance thing. And
which causes a lending thing.
Which causes a lending thing, but it's not a specific to, right?
Right.
The other thing is like electric panels and certain type of electrical things, and knowing, you've got inspectors out here. Some inspectors are really good. Some inspectors are just doing what they got to do. But saying that it has cloth wiring, well, it didn't really have cloth wiring. It had like Romex sheathing on it, which then you have to get an electrician to write a letter, and is the insurance company going to take it? I don't know. Maybe we need a new insurance company. The list goes on, really, of all these things that they have to be at a certain standard in order to put it on the market. And are you willing to put it there? And you have to evaluate that from the get-go.
And there's no textbook on this.
No, and it changes all the time.
And it changes all the time. But the fact that you took it in at a high volume and we're doing it daily, these things are coming up all the time. So all those things you just mentioned were all problems at different flips that you were doing, and you didn't make as much. And you're telling the investor, we're gonna make $30,000. Oh no, we got to replace the roof. You're only gonna make 15.
Yep. Or it's timing too, that there's never a good opportunity. People call me all the time and say, hey, can you run numbers on a new construction property in wherever on this lot? And I'm like, well, right now it would sell at this, but it's going to take you 8 months to build that house. In 8 months, I have no idea what the market's going to be doing. The interest rates are so volatile right now. How will I possibly know what's going on in 8 months? The world shut down at one point in time, out of nowhere. No one predicted that.
Right.
So there's just a lot of things that are very much out in the open that I'm always very transparent that I do not have the answer to everything, but I will tell you what I do know. What I do know is these things that we can fix from the get-go, and giving those ranges too.
So I imagine, because of your experience, and everyone knows, I'm sure everyone at Keller Williams Atlantic Partners probably do trainings on this all the time. What are the type of questions you get from the agent who's just doing the single family residential home? We'll just call them the average agent that's out there, the stereotypical agent that's out there, the questions you're getting, and then how can they team up, leverage your experience to help them help you type thing? or you help them help you?
Yeah, so the majority of agents, when they come across a distressed property of any kind, they either say, I can't help you, or they put it on the market as is, and they just throw it up there at a number that their client wants them to, and they have no knowledge of it, and they don't care. So, which is fine. However, we also have other opportunities for them. And a lot of people think that it's competition. It's not competition because you will get paid off of it, right? So if anyone ever brings me a deal or anyone on my team and says, not even a deal to me, you're not bringing it to me, it's giving an option to your client and having a different solution to them. So if they say, hey, call us and say, I have this property, which other teams do all the time. CC's team calls me all the time. Hey, I got a guy who he really needs X amount of money, has to move out by the X of, X date. Do you know anyone that we can sell this to? And I'm happy, even if I don't make any money, I can get them in touch with them and be able to help. Or we can work out a way where we can buy it directly from them too. And the agents they're very skeptical about that because they think they're giving away business, right? But you're not giving away business. You're offering this tremendous opportunity to a client where you're still going to get paid. So you say, hey, if you guys can buy it, what numbers can we work out? You're the one with the listing agreement with them, right? So the seller is still going to either the seller can pay you directly or we can factor that into our cost of the purchase price, right? So if you say, hey, well, I want to make X% off of it and I still want to close this deal, but we can do that for you. We're going to pay you a commission on it. Or the other opportunity is to pay a net profit. So once the property sells, we'll pay you a percentage of the profit that we made on it. But people are very skeptical of that because they've never done it before. And most agents are more real time. They want to get paid right away when closing happens,
right? Which
is an option, right? I don't ever say, a lot of people go with the marketing pitch. Like a lot of investors will say, oh, well, we'll give you the listing if you give us a deal, or we'll give you this if you give us this. And I just think there's not a one size fits all opportunity, or we'll pay you 3% every time. It's like, it's not reality, right? It's not a one size fits all box. They want this, you want that. Let's come together and come up with a solution. And
otherwise, that property's probably going to sit there for a while.
It's going to sit there for a while, right? And and it's a lot of people because they're working with an agent that they trust, a friend or a family member or something like that, and they don't want to. They're skeptical of coming out to some We Buy Houses person. So if you guys can, facilitate that relationship, I think we don't come off as a We Buy Houses people. We're a real estate team, and we have the connections to be able to supply that. Either somebody on our team would buy it directly, or we do have larger partnerships where they're going to buy it also.
Right. The We Buy Houses people are doing the same evaluation you're doing, right?
Yeah, they're doing the same evaluation, but I think that sometimes it just comes off as a little bit more of a negative, a little bit more standoffish, just because of how it was blasted and how they've sometimes, not everyone, I think there's some tremendous acquisition companies out there right now that do really right by their clients, but there are a lot of people out there that give that industry a bad name. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty business to be in, but it can be very lucrative and it can be very helpful to a lot of people. I don't necessarily think that, some people would say, oh, you're taking advantage of people. It's like those people needed an opportunity. They needed some way out of the situation that they were in, and they very much were ready, willing, and able to provide, the solution,
right,
or accept it,
Right. I'm just thinking of an agent listening out there. Well, this house could sell for $200,000 and I get 3% of that, so that's $6,000. Or I call them and they're going to come in, but they're only going to pay me $3,000. Well, that $3,000 is today.
Yeah.
The $6,000 is a maybe, who knows, and with a house that, from what I understand, a lot of agents are saying a lot of people want turnkey houses right now. They're not into the fixer-uppers.
Yep. And I also think agents are very selfish sometimes they are focused on their commission only, which that is your livelihood. That is how you make money. I completely understand that and I respect that. However, if your goal at the end of this is I'm only going to do this for 3%, 6%, whatever it is, and I won't touch it if I don't, you shouldn't be working with that specific client because you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
Because they could have had an easy solution where you maybe took 2.5%, which is still good, and you literally had to make one phone call for them, and that was the solution that they needed. Not necessarily putting you out. They're not doing it for you, they're doing it for them.
And
right?
and this is because it's a unique situation. You got a house that needs work. Most people are not going to buy it, and anyone who is going to buy it wants a deal, just like you guys are looking for a deal, fixer upper. You guys just know the numbers like that, and this transaction can be done in 30 days versus who knows,
situations
open-ended,
like
stressful.
foreclosures or probate or things like that. I mean, they're going to lose their house because you advised them that you should put it on the market and hold strong. Now they lost their house. Like, they lost their home because they listened to you. And there are people who do that, and they're going to blindly listen to whatever people tell them, and that's can be fortunate and unfortunate.
I call that stepping over a quarter to pick up a nickel.
Yeah. So it's a wacky world out there.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's always finding a solution, and you should have your clients, at the forefront of your.
That might, I'm going to write that down. That might be the title of it, Finding a Solution. Because I think that really comes down to, and that's why I admire, when I had Mercedes on and having you on, most real estate agents, like you said, they're in that box. And you used that example several times today. They are in that box, and they don't know who to ask to get out of that. They hear things out there, and here today I've got you in front of me with this vast experience of dealing with these types of situations at a high volume. We didn't even, talk about, I think right now we got a lot of investors who are looking at, investment property to hold and rent. And interest rates are high right now. You may not actually have an income from that property. But in your experience right now, would you invest in a property that maybe has just a net neutral, just covering your cost right now, figuring that, whether it's a year from now, 2 years now, the rates will drop, you can refi or whatever, but just the fact that they're gaining equity, and then over time, the value of the home is only going to increase. I mean, the demand is so high and it's not going away. I mean, what is your advice on that situation? Because I think a lot of people, I want an investment property, I want to make $500 a month off it. Those opportunities aren't quite out there.
They're not quite out there.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your goal to make $500 a month off of it, probably not for you.
Yeah.
Or you have to find that you have to put in the work to do it. You're going to have to buy something that's got walls.
Right.
And that's
Right.
it. Put everything else in it, but you got to have the capital to do it.
Right.
And you're not necessarily going to get it from a bank because it's not going to make sense, which is another thing that people always have the misconception. There is money out there. People are willing to give you money. They are. It's crazy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a conventional way. There's a lot of private lenders out there. Your uncle, your dad, your friend, your, business colleague, they've got money sitting somewhere that they want to invest. And why would they not help you out or want to invest with you? That's always your first question. And you shouldn't be scared to ask because people who do have that money sitting around, they want somebody to come to them with an idea of what to do with it.
Right.
I got people who call me all the time. They're like, hey, you got a new business idea for me? Because I got a lot of money sitting around.
I got some
and
business
I'm happy
ideas.
to
I got some.
deploy
Can I have some
it.
business ideas with you?
I'm like, I wish that I had these tremendous business ideas for you. I do not have them, but keep that money around. I might need it sometime.
But you have. But that's the thing. You've over this time, you've met these people that have this kind of money, and these agents have to realize you have those connections, and that's what makes you great and makes you valuable. Is they find this house. You have people that obviously everyone's going to do the numbers. It's not just like, oh, you have that house, here's a check. Yep. No, they're going to, okay, yeah, that's going to work. And you're the person who actually puts that together in a short period of time and then presents it to that investor, says, hey, this looks like a good house and we could turn it and this is what you could possibly make on it. Yep. Okay, here's the check. And that's done within probably a few days. Yep. in the perfect way. And these agents need to know that you are one of these people out there that has those connections.
I think that's the biggest thing is just knowing is having the connections. That's the only way that you will grow to the next level to be able to do what you want to do. That's what real estate is all together.
Yes.
Is having connections and relationships with people. That's all it is.
Whether that's the next referral. Yep. Or like I said, the hard money lender out there, investors looking to turn properties, that type of thing. Having those, it's all about networking, right?
Yep. And I would love to. Like, we've always tried to work with other agents. And I almost feel like it's like a barrier of entry for other agents to work with other agents because I don't want to say closed-minded, I just don't think they're educated enough or open to the idea of it's not a competition. There's so much business out there. Mercedes and I were just talking about that on the call. We were on a call on the way here. There was pouring down rain and I was like, oh my God, I got this great lead. And she was like, I have a meeting with this new investor. And I mean, it's just coming. And it's coming because of the relationships that we've made and the willingness to be open to doing different things. And some of them are referrals. They're referrals from other agents,
Well, the bottom line is it's not every deal. These are unique situations and you have a unique tool your network and so forth, that when you have this unique situation, it's like, I can't sell this on the normal process. Let me call Jannah and see what her team can do. See, if there's some investors there, so I can help my client. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's to help your client. And that's what people really need to hone in on.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Something's better than nothing. Like I said, it's better to have half the watermelon than the whole grape type of thing. Anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think we
there's some really. I mean, I know you have a reputation that in respect that from a lot of people. There's some good information, especially some of these agents that are looking at how they're running their teams. I think that's a type of thing. So you gave them a little bit of information there, and obviously we talked this last 20 minutes or so about your resources, and to know that in the short period of time, not short period of time, but you have made a lot of connections that, agents that are out there and you run a problem, that to message you, say, hey, I got this situation, who could help me, whether that's you personally or someone that because you just been in front of a lot of people in a very short period of time, relatively.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think, that's, for example, too, we had a new agent came on our team in January. She just got her license, literally January 3rd, I think. Mm-hmm. And so now we're in the beginning of April, well, mid-April at this point, but she's had 6 properties under contract.
Wow. Already in the first quarter. Excellent.
So, which is just a tremendous opportunity, and all of those came directly from the team. Mm-hmm. So, or either directly from the team or directly from the team's training to allow her to be able to develop that, because she had no experience. She's not from Jacksonville. She doesn't have a sphere here.
It's just tougher. Yeah.
So she has nothing to do with, her friends, family, anything like that. So that was a huge testament to what we can provide.
100%
on our team. So.
Yep. Because I think most people say, well, you join a team, like I said, the splits are less because you have to understand the value they're bringing to you.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, over time you graduate and then you start doing your own business, which I imagine you pay something different if their mom calls them directly. That's paid differently than, the other business you're getting, because you personally, leading a team, can only handle so much business. As you said, a human can only do so much, that there's this spillover, and that's going to get you the notches on your belt, and eventually agents outgrow and want to just change their business, just want to do it on their own or whatever, and that happens. But a new agent to come in is going to get the reps like you got.
And I would love, if that's what somebody wants to do, their ultimate goal is to be a single agent by themselves and start their own team, happy to help them get there. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But when you're on the team, we can, if that's your goal, we can propel you to do that.
I think like anything in life, things change. Because they only know what's in the box. They come in the box and all of a sudden go, oh my God. And you're definitely have a team that can expand their horizons of what's in real estate.
So everybody, we just want to be really diverse and be able to find a solution. Like I've said a bunch of times, I know, but that's, everyone on the team is able to provide a solution to our clients, but not only, they're all trained on being able, is this going to be something that we can purchase for cash? Is it something we should list, on the market? Or is this something, we even have relationships with, like, for instance, Open Door. We have a relationship with Open Door where we have a direct connection. We're one of their preferred agents, so we can call them and say, hey, I got a deal. What are the criteria? Would this meet for you? It might be a better fit. Mm-hmm. So we're always looking for an opportunity to work with somebody when the majority of people are saying, I would never work with them. I don't like the way they do business. If there's an opportunity for us to help them, we will.
If you want to do deals, you need to be with Jannah.
Yep.
Because she's doing deals.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.